The great hall of the Galactic Assembly stretched for miles in every direction. Floating platforms held representatives from over 300 different species. Some had scales, others had fur, and many had bodies made of crystal or light. The hall hummed with thousands of voices speaking in hundreds of languages. Translator devices worked hard to keep up with all the noise. Captain Day 1 stood at the edge of the human platform. He wore his military uniform with pride, every button polished and every medal in place. His face showed no emotion, but inside he felt tired. He had been coming to this station for 5 years. 5 years of asking for help. 5 years of being ignored. Next to him stood Ambassador Ji Woo. She was a small woman with kind eyes and a gentle voice. She had spent her whole life learning how to talk to other species. She believed in peace. She believed in working together. But even her patience had limits. "The Assembly will now hear the petition from Earth," announced Chancellor Thalmor. The Chancellor was a being made of living crystal. His body caught the light and threw rainbows across the walls. His voice sounded like glass wind chimes. Ji Woo stepped forward to the speaking platform. She bowed politely to the Assembly. "Thank you, Chancellor. I come before you again to discuss the attacks on our colony in the Outer Rim, as I have shown in my evidence. The weapons used were of Kresh design. The attack patterns match Kresh military training. We asked the Assembly to investigate." Laughter erupted from across the hall. It came from Vexter, the Kresh representative. He was a large creature with 4 arms and skin like armor. His people were known as warriors. "They took what they wanted and asked questions never." "The humans blame us again," Vexter said loudly. "Perhaps they should learn to defend themselves instead of crying to the Assembly like children." More laughter followed from other platforms. Day 1's hands turned into fists at his sides, but he did not move. Wu kept her voice calm. "We do not cry. We follow proper procedure. We bring evidence. We ask for justice." Chancellor Thalmor raised his hand for silence. "The Assembly has reviewed your evidence, Ambassador. We find it ... incomplete. The matter is closed." Wu stood very still. She had heard these words before. Many times. Every time humans asked for help, the answer was the same. Incomplete. Insufficient. Closed. She turned and looked at Day 1. They had talked about this moment for months. They had hoped it would not come. But it had. "Very well," Jiwoo said. Her voice was still calm, but something in it had changed. "Then I must inform the Assembly of Earth's decision." The hall grew quiet. Something in her tone made even Vexter stop smiling. "For 50 years, humanity has been a member of this assembly," Jiwoo continued. "We have shared our science. We have open trade. We have sent our soldiers to protect colonies that could not protect themselves. We have done everything asked of us." She paused and looked around the vast hall. "In return, we have received nothing. Our colonies are attacked, and the Assembly does nothing. Our ships are raided, and the Assembly does nothing. Our people die, and the Assembly does nothing." Murmurs spread through the hall like wind through grass. "Therefore, effective immediately, Earth withdraws from the Galactic Assembly." For a moment, there was complete silence. Then the hall exploded with noise. Some species gasped. Others laughed. Vexter laughed loudest of all. "Let them go," he shouted. "The humans were always weak. They have no claws, no armor, no natural weapons. They survive only because we allow it. They will come back begging within a cycle." Many voices agreed with him. The humans were young. The humans were emotional. The humans needed the Assembly more than the Assembly needed them. Captain Day 1 stepped forward. He did not speak to the Assembly. Instead, he spoke into his communicator. "All personnel, execute Protocol 7. On the human platform, every soldier, scientist, and diplomat stood at attention. They moved as one body, turning toward the exit. Their footsteps echoed in perfect rhythm. They did not look back. They did not respond to the insults thrown at them. Ji Woo walked beside Day 1. Her head was high. "Do you think we are making a mistake?" she asked quietly. No, Day One replied. I think we should have done this years ago. As they walked through the exit corridor, they passed representatives from other species. Most were laughing or shaking their heads, but some watched with different expressions. Elder Zenther stood on his platform. He was ancient, even by galactic standards. His species had seen many civilizations rise and fall. He did not laugh. His old eyes followed the humans with something like worry. Fools, he muttered to himself. They are all fools. His assistant looked at him with confusion. The humans, Elder? No, Zenther replied. Everyone who is laughing. Do they not see? The humans are not running away. They are walking away. There is a very big difference. In the docking bay, the human fleet waited. 12 ships, all of them modest by galactic standards. Nothing impressive, nothing frightening. Just simple, practical vessels. Day One and Jiwoo boarded the command ship. Around them, the crew worked quietly. There was no anger on their faces, no fear, just calm determination. Set course for Earth, Day One ordered. All ships, standard formation. The fleet began to move. Through the view screen, they could see the assembly station growing smaller. That station had been the center of galactic civilization for 10,000 years. Every important decision was made there. Every species wanted to be part of it. And now, humanity was leaving it behind. Jiwoo stood at the window, watching the stars. They think we will fail. Day One nodded. Yes, they think we need them. Yes, they are wrong. Day One allowed himself a small smile. Yes, they are. The fleet jumped to hyperspace and the assembly station disappeared from view. Behind them, the laughter continued. Representatives returned to their business, already forgetting about the humans. It was just another minor species throwing a tantrum. Nothing to worry about, but in the quiet corners of the hall, the older species remembered something. Something they had learned long ago. There was a saying among the ancient races, "Fear the patient man, for when he finally moves, it is already too late." Humanity had been patient for 50 years. They had asked politely. They had followed the rules. They had done everything right, and now they were done asking. The galaxy did not know it yet, but everything was about to change. The humans were going home. And when they came back, they would not be asking for anything. They would be giving the galaxy a choice. 6 months passed since the humans left the assembly. At first, nobody noticed much difference. The galaxy was big. Thousands of ships moved through space every day. What did it matter if a few human vessels stopped appearing? But slowly, things began to change. Lieutenant Hyansu stood on the bridge of his ship, the Iron Wolf. They were stationed at the edge of human space, near the border zone. His job was simple: watch and wait. No one was allowed in. No one was allowed out. Those were the orders. Sir, we have 3 ships approaching, his sensor officer reported. Kresh trading vessels? Hyansu looked at the screen. The Kresh ships were big and ugly, built for carrying cargo. They wanted to pass through human space to reach the markets on the other side. Open a channel, Hyansu ordered. The Kresh captain appeared on screen. He had the typical Kresh look, armor skin, 4 arms, and an expression of permanent anger. Human vessel, you will move aside. We have cargo to deliver. Hyansu kept his face calm. Negative. Human space is closed to all traffic. You will need to find another route. The Kresh captain laughed. Another route will take 3 weeks longer. Move aside or we will move you. You are welcome to try. The channel closed. The Kresh ships powered up their weapons. They were much bigger than the Iron Wolf. They thought it would be easy. They were wrong. The Iron Wolf moved like nothing they had seen before. It was fast, agile, and precise. Within seconds, it had disabled all 3 Kresh ships. Not destroyed, disabled, their weapons went dark. Their engines went silent. They were left floating in space like dead fish. Hyansu opened the channel again. As I said, human space is closed. A tow ship from the neutral zone will arrive in 6 hours. I suggest you wait patiently. The Kresh captain's face was a mask of shock and fury. But there was nothing he could do. This scene repeated many times at different points along the human border. Every species learned the same lesson. Humans were not accepting visitors back on Earth. Dr. Biora worked in a laboratory that officially did not exist. She was the chief scientist of the Advanced Research Division. For years, her team had been developing new technologies in secret. The assembly had rules about weapons research. Humans had always followed those rules, but humans were not in the assembly anymore. How is the progress on Project Shield? Dora asked her assistant. 90% complete, Doctor. We will be ready for testing next month. Dora nodded with satisfaction. The galaxy thought humans were weak because they had no natural armor. So humans had built their own. And it was better than anything nature had created. Across human space, similar projects were reaching completion. New ships, new weapons, new defensive systems, things that would have taken decades if they had stayed in the assembly. Things that other species would have blocked or stolen. Being alone was hard. But it was also freedom. Meanwhile, in the rest of the galaxy, problems were growing. The assembly held an emergency meeting to discuss the increase in pirate attacks. Ships were disappearing near the nebula corridor. Whole fleets were vanishing without a trace. We must send patrols, demanded the representative from Velos Prime. Our trade ships are being destroyed. With what resources? Replied another representative. The humans used to patrol the nebula corridor. They did it for free. Who will pay for our ships to do the same job? Arguments filled the hall. Everyone wanted protection. No one wanted to pay for it. On his platform, Council member Rexul listened with growing frustration. He was from a peaceful species that had always supported humans. He had voted against mistreating them, but his vote had not mattered. This is what happens, he said to his aide. The humans asked for nothing. They protected the weak because it was right. And how did we repay them? With insults and laughter, his aide nodded sadly. Do you think they will come back? Rexul looked at the arguing assembly members. Would you? The pirate attacks got worse every week. But there was something strange about them. They only happened in certain areas. They never touched the space near human borders. Pirate Lord Korth discovered this the hard way. Korth was the most feared pirate in 3 sectors. His fleet had over 50 ships. He took what he wanted and killed anyone who resisted. For years, he had been careful to avoid human patrols. Humans were strangely good at fighting. Better to attack easier targets, but now the humans were gone. The galaxy was open. Korth took his fleet into the nebula corridor, hunting for fat trade ships. He found one, a Velosian cargo vessel carrying rare minerals. Prepare to be boarded, Korth announced. Resist and you die. The Velosian captain was about to surrender when something appeared on his sensors. Ships incoming, multiple contacts. Korth looked at his own sensors. 12 vessels had appeared from nowhere. They were human designs, but different, sleeker, faster, more dangerous. What is this? Korth demanded. I thought humans left the galaxy. No answer came. The human ships simply attacked. Korth had never seen anything like it. His 50 ships could not land a single hit. The human vessels moved too fast, predicted every move, struck with impossible precision. In 10 minutes, half his fleet was disabled. Retreat! Korth screamed. All ships retreat? Only 8 of his ships made it out. And Korth never went near the nebula corridor again. The story spread quickly. Humans were still out there. They were not gone. They were just not helping the assembly anymore. They were only protecting their own interests, and their own interests seemed to include keeping pirates away from certain trade routes. Why would they do this? Chancellor Thalmar asked in a private meeting. They left the assembly. Why protect trade routes? Advisor Sentinel shook his head. I do not know, Chancellor. Perhaps they are testing their new weapons. Perhaps they want to remind us they exist. Perhaps they simply hate pirates. Can we contact them? We have tried, 17 times. They respond politely and refuse all communication. They say they wish to be left alone. Thalmar's crystal body flickered with frustration. What are they doing in there? What are they building? No one knew. Every spy probe sent into human space disappeared. Every intelligence operation failed. The humans had learned well how to keep secrets. 6 months after their departure, humanity had become a mystery. A silent mystery with very sharp teeth. In the assembly, the laughter had stopped. No one thought humans would come begging anymore. Now they wondered something else. They wondered what would happen when the humans decided to stop being silent. Dr. B.O. Ra received a message from Earth's government. Project SHIELD was approved for full deployment. All other projects were on schedule. She looked out her window at the busy shipyards in orbit. Hundreds of vessels were being built. Each one carried technology that would shock the galaxy. Soon, she said quietly, soon they will see what humans can do when we stop holding back. The galaxy had always thought human emotions were a weakness: anger, fear, love, pride. These things made humans unpredictable, made them irrational, but the galaxy had forgotten something important. Those same emotions made humans determined, made them creative, made them absolutely refuse to give up. Humanity was not hiding in their space, they were preparing, and when they were ready, the galaxy would learn why it was a mistake to make humans angry. 1 year after humanity left the assembly, the Kresh Dominion made its move. Warlord Vrakton stood on the bridge of his massive warship. He was the supreme military commander of all Kresh forces. His armor skin bore the scars of 100 battles. His forearms had crushed enemies across the galaxy. Today we take what is rightfully ours, he announced to his captains. The humans are gone. The assembly is weak. No one will stop us. 3 fleets, 3 targets, 3 colony worlds that had once been protected by human patrols. Now they were alone and helpless. Launch the attack. On the colony world of Saren, people looked up at the sky and saw death coming. 50 Kresh warships descended through the clouds. The colony had no military. They were farmers and scientists. They had nothing but a small defense grid that would not last 5 minutes against such a force. Governor Pellin sent out a desperate call. This is Saren Colony to any vessel. We are under attack. Please, we need help. The same call went out from the other 2 colonies. All 3 were screaming for someone, anyone, to save them. In the assembly hall, Chancellor Thalmor received the reports with horror. We must send ships immediately, shouted the representative from Saren's home system. Our fleet is 3 days away, another representative argued. The colonies will be destroyed before we arrive. Then we must negotiate, offer the Kresh something they want. The Kresh want everything. They do not negotiate. Arguments filled the hall. Votes were called, procedures were followed. Hours passed while 3 worlds waited to die. Then something unexpected happened. On Saren, Governor Pellin stared at his sensors. New contacts were appearing. Not Kresh, something else. Identify those ships. His officer's voice was shaking. Sir, they are human. 12 human vessels dropped out of hyperspace directly between the colony and the Kresh fleet. They were beautiful in a terrifying way. Sleek and silver with lines that suggested speed and power. They looked nothing like the modest ships humans had used before. Admiral Taeyong sat in her command chair. She was a calm woman with gray in her hair and steel in her eyes. She had fought in many battles, but always with old technology, always with one hand tied behind her back. Not today. Open a channel to the Kresh fleet, she ordered. Warlord Vrakton's face appeared on her screen. He was smiling. Humans! I thought you were hiding in your little space. Have you come to beg us to spare these weaklings? Taeyong's expression did not change. I am Admiral Taeyong of the Earth Defense Fleet. I am giving you one warning. Retreat now or be removed, Vrakton laughed. It was a deep, ugly sound. 12 ships against 50? Human arrogance is amusing. I will enjoy adding your skulls to my collection. You have been warned. The channel closed. Vrakton turned to his weapons officer. Destroy them. The Kresh fleet opened fire. Hundreds of missiles and energy beams flew toward the human ships. None of them hit. The human vessels moved like nothing Vrakton had ever seen. They did not just dodge. They flowed through the attacks like water through rocks. The Kresh weapons could not track them, could not touch them. What is this? Vrakton demanded. How are they doing this? No one could answer him. Then the humans fired back. Engineer Minji had spent 3 years designing the new weapon systems. She had studied every species' technology. She had found the weaknesses in all of them. And she had built weapons that exploited those weaknesses perfectly. The human ships did not aim for hulls or shields. They aimed for very specific systems, weapons arrays, engine cores, targeting computers. The first Kresh ship went dark in 2 seconds. Its weapons simply stopped working, its engines died. It was still intact, still alive inside, but it could not fight. The second ship followed, then the third. Then 10 more. Vrakton watched in horror as his fleet was taken apart with surgical precision. Not destroyed, disabled, the humans were not killing anyone. They were simply making it impossible to fight. All ships, focus fire on the lead human vessel. Vrakton screamed. 20 ships turned their weapons on Admiral Taeyong's ship. The amount of firepower would have destroyed a small moon. The ship did not even slow down. A shimmering barrier appeared around it, absorbing every shot. Project Shield? Dr. Biora's masterpiece? The galaxy thought humans had no armor. So humans had built armor out of energy itself. In 17 minutes, it was over. 43 Kresh warships floated dead in space. Their crews were alive but helpless. Their weapons were slag. Their engines were cold. The same thing happened at the other 2 colonies. Human ships appeared. Warnings were given. The Kresh ignored them. The Kresh lost. Admiral Taeyong opened a broadcast on all frequencies. Every ship in the galaxy with a receiver would hear this message. This is Admiral Taeyong of Earth. Today the Kresh Dominion attacked 3 defenseless colonies. The attacks have been stopped. Kresh casualties are 0. Kresh ships disabled are 129. Footage of these engagements is being transmitted now. She paused. Earth is no longer a member of the Galactic Assembly. We do not answer to your laws. We do not ask for your permission. But we will not stand by while innocent people are slaughtered. Consider this a demonstration. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, beings of every species watched the footage in stunned silence. They saw Kresh warships, the most feared military force in known space, being dismantled like toys by a handful of human vessels. In the assembly hall, no one spoke. Vexter, the Kresh representative, stared at his screen with his mouth open. His people had just been humiliated, and the humans had not even broken a sweat. Chancellor Thalmor felt something he had not felt in centuries. Fear. How? He whispered. How did they do this in only 1 year? Advisor Senatol shook his head slowly. They did not do it in 1 year, Chancellor. They have been preparing for much longer. They simply were not allowed to build these things. While they followed assembly rules, we stopped them from defending themselves. Yes, and then we laughed when they left. Thalmor looked at the footage again. The human ships were so fast, so precise, so deadly, and they had not killed a single Kresh. That was the most frightening part. The humans could have destroyed those fleets. They had the power, but they chose not to. They chose mercy. What would happen when they stopped choosing mercy? On her ship, Admiral Taeyong received a message from Earth. It was from President Sang-hoon himself. Well done, Admiral. Return to base. We have made our point. Taeyong looked out at the disabled Kresh fleet. Rescue ships would come for them soon. They would live. They would remember. Yes, sir. Returning to base? The human fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving behind 3 saved colonies and a galaxy that would never see them the same way again. On Saren, Governor Pellan stood among his people. They were all looking at the sky where the human ships had been. Why did they save us? Someone asked. They left the assembly. We are nothing to them. Pellan thought about it for a long moment. Maybe that is not how humans see it, he said finally. Maybe to them everyone matters. It was a strange idea. In the galaxy, power meant taking what you wanted. It meant making others serve you, but humans seemed to think power meant something else. It meant having the strength to protect those who could not protect themselves. The galaxy was beginning to understand. Humans had not been weak. They had been restrained, and now everyone knew what happened when that restraint came off, 18 months after humanity left the assembly. The galaxy was falling apart. Trade routes that had worked for thousands of years were now dangerous. Pirates attacked freely because no one patrolled anymore. Species that had been peaceful neighbors for centuries were suddenly fighting over resources. Old hatreds came back to life. The assembly tried to fix things. They passed new laws. They made new agreements. They gave speeches about unity and cooperation. Nothing worked. President Sang-hoon of Earth watched the reports from his office. His hair was more gray than black now. Leading humanity through this time had aged him, but his eyes were still sharp. 7 species have requested meetings with us this month, his aide reported. They all want the same thing, help. Sang-hoon nodded slowly. And what do they offer in return? Trade agreements. Technology sharing. Some are even offering territory, but not apologies. No, sir. Not apologies. Sang-hoon turned to look out his window. Earth was beautiful from orbit. Blue oceans, green lands, white clouds. Humans had nearly destroyed this planet once. But they had learned. They had changed. We will not sell our help, he said. Tell them all no. Sir, some of these species are suffering. Their people are dying. I know. And it is sad. But we cannot save everyone who ignored us when we needed saving. We do not have the resources. We must choose carefully. This was the hardest part of being a leader. Knowing you could not help everyone. Knowing some would suffer because of your choices, but Sang-hoon also knew that helping everyone who asked would make humanity weak again, would make them servants again. That could not happen. General Yoonji entered the office. She was the head of strategic operations, responsible for all military and humanitarian missions. She was a serious woman who smiled rarely but meant it when she did. We have a new request, she said. Different from the others. Sang-hoon raised an eyebrow. How different? It is from the Kalith people. They are facing genocide. The room went quiet. The Kalith were a gentle species. They had no military. They had never harmed anyone. Their gift to the galaxy was art and music that could make any being cry with joy or sorrow. Now, the Verkan Empire was invading their world. The Verkan wanted the Kalith planet for its resources. They did not care about the people living there. Has the assembly responded? Sang-hoon asked. They are debating. They have been debating for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. While people died. Send a fleet, Sang-hoon ordered. Full humanitarian package. Get those people to safety. Ung-ji nodded and left to give the orders. Ambassador Kalith arrived at Earth 2 days later. He was tall and thin, with skin that shifted colors based on his emotions. Right now, it was dark blue, the color of deep sadness. I do not know how to thank you, he said to the human delegation. His voice sounded like singing. The assembly did nothing. Other species did nothing. Only you came. Counselor Yun, he met with him. She had been a junior diplomat at the assembly before humanity left. Now she was one of the top advisors in Earth's government. We came because it was right, she said simply. Your people are innocent. They deserve protection. Kalith's skin shifted to a pale purple, wonder mixed with confusion. But we have nothing to offer you. We have no military, no advanced technology. We are not useful to you. Yunhee smiled gently. Ambassador, humans do not only help people who are useful. We help people who need help. It was such a simple idea. But in the galaxy it was revolutionary. The Kalith people were evacuated to a safe world. Human ships stood between them and the Verkan fleet, and the Verkan decided their conquest was not worth the trouble. They had seen what happened to the creche. News of the rescue spread quickly. Humans had saved an entire species. A species that could give them nothing in return. More requests came flooding in. Everyone wanted human help now, but humans did not help everyone. When a wealthy species asked for protection of their luxury trade ships, humans said no. When a species that had voted against humanity in the assembly asked for aid, humans said no. When the Kresh themselves asked for help against pirates, humans laughed and said no. The galaxy began to understand the pattern. Humans would help the weak. They would help the innocent. They would help those who could not help themselves, but they would not help those who had power and wasted it. They would not help those who had been cruel. They would not help those who only wanted to use them. In the assembly, panic was growing. Chancellor Thalmor called meeting after meeting. Every time the hall was half empty, species were leaving. They were giving up on the assembly and trying to make their own deals. We are losing control, Thalmor said to his advisors. The galaxy is breaking into pieces. The humans hold the pieces, Senator replied. Every species they help becomes loyal to them. They are building their own alliance without even trying. Then we must bring them back. We must apologize. We must offer them whatever they want. They do not want anything we have, Chancellor. They do not want our resources. They do not want our territory. They do not want our power. Then what do they want? Senator was quiet for a long moment. I think they want us to be better. Thalmor did not understand. None of the assembly leaders understood. To them, power was about taking. Wealth was about having more than others. Success was about winning. Humans seemed to think differently. General Unji coordinated 12 humanitarian missions in 1 month. Her teams brought food, medicine, and protection to species in crisis. They asked for nothing in return. They simply helped and then left, but something interesting happened after each mission. The species that were helped started talking to each other. They formed connections. They shared resources. They looked out for each other. A network was growing. A network based on gratitude and trust. Humans were not building an empire, they were building a community. Ambassador Kalith spoke before his people on their new safe world. We owe our lives to Earth. He said, but humans do not want us to be their servants. They want us to be their friends. They want us to be strong enough to help others the way they helped us. It was a new way of thinking about power. Not power over others. Power with others. Power for others, some species understood immediately. Others struggled. Some refused to believe it was real. But the network kept growing. 18 months after humanity left the assembly, they had not conquered anyone. They had not demanded tribute. They had not made threats, and yet they were becoming the most influential force in the galaxy. In his office, President Sang-hoon received a message from Chancellor Thalmor. It was a formal request for a meeting. The subject, Apology and Restructuring Proposal for Humanity's Return. Sang-hoon read it twice. Then he called his advisors. The assembly wants us back, he told them. Will we go? Asked Yun Dash. Sang-hoon looked at the faces around the table. These were people who had worked hard for 18 months. They had built something new. Something better. We will listen to what they have to say, he decided. But we will not go back to the old way. If they want us, they must accept our terms. What are our terms? Sang-hoon thought of the Kalith people safe and rebuilding. He thought of the network of species learning to help each other. He thought of everything humanity had learned about true strength. Our terms are simple, he said. We will not return to the assembly. But we will invite them to join something new. The reckoning was not about revenge. It was about change, and the galaxy was about to learn that humans were very good at building new things from the ruins of old ones. 2 years after humanity left the Galactic Assembly, a massive delegation arrived at Earth. Over 100 ships from 50 different species gathered in orbit around the blue planet. It was the largest diplomatic fleet ever assembled. At its head was Chancellor Thalmor himself, his crystal body polished and gleaming for this historic moment. The delegation was taken to the Grand Hall in New Geneva. The building was simple compared to the assembly station. No floating platforms. No mile-high ceilings. Just a large, clean room with seats arranged in a circle. Humans did not believe in looking down on others. Captain Day 1 stood at the entrance, welcoming each delegate personally. He shook hands, bowed, and adjusted his grip for tentacles or claws. 2 years ago, he had led humanity out of the assembly in cold silence. Now he was greeting its leaders with warmth. Ambassador Ji Woo sat at the center of the human delegation. Her hair had more gray in it now, but her eyes were the same, kind, patient, and very, very smart. Chancellor Thalmor approached the speaking circle. His voice chimed through the hall. We come with humility. The Galactic Assembly formally apologizes to humanity for decades of mistreatment. We were wrong to ignore your requests. We were wrong to blame you for attacks you did not commit. We were wrong to laugh when you left. He bowed his crystal head. We ask you to return. We offer you seats on the High Council. We offer you leadership positions in every major committee. We offer you everything you asked for and more. The hall was silent. Every being watched the humans for their reaction. Ji Woo stood slowly. She looked at Thalmor with respect but not excitement. Chancellor, we thank you for your apology. It took courage to come here and say these words. We accept your apology, relief washed across Thalmor's face. But we will not return to the assembly. The relief turned to shock. Murmurs filled the hall. Please, Thalmor said. The galaxy needs you. Without you, everything falls apart. Yes, Ji Woo agreed. That is the problem. She walked to the center of the circle. For 50 years, humanity held things together. We patrolled trade routes. We mediated conflicts. We protected the weak. And in return, we received nothing but contempt. Her voice was calm but carried to every corner of the room. If we return to the assembly, nothing changes. You will go back to your old ways. You will take us for granted again. The same problems will return. We will be different, Thalmor promised. We will change. You do not need to promise change. You need to commit to something new. Ji Woo pressed a button, and a hologram appeared above the circle. It showed a document with a simple title, The Cooperative Alliance. For 2 years we have been building this, she explained. It is not an empire. It is not the assembly. It is something we should have created long ago. She outlined the principles. Every member species has equal representation, regardless of size or military power. No one votes carry more weight than others. Protection is mandatory. If one member is attacked, all members respond. No debates, no delays. Immediate action, trade is fair and transparent. No hidden fees. No favoritism. Equal access to all routes. Decisions are based on merit and justice, not politics and bribes. Aggression against non-members is forbidden. The alliance protects everyone, not just its own. When she finished, the hall was silent again. These rules are strict, one representative said. They leave no room for ... flexibility. You mean corruption? Day One said from his seat. That is the point. What if we do not agree with a decision? Then you argue your case. If you lose, you accept the result. That is how justice works. And if we refuse? Ji Woo smiled slightly. Then you are free to leave. The alliance forces no one. But if you leave everything. Protection, trade, support, all of it. It was a choice. A real choice. Stay and follow the rules or go and survive alone. 30-7 species signed the Alliance Charter that day. Most were smaller species, ones that had suffered under the old system. But several major powers joined too, including some former assembly leaders. Chancellor Thalmor hesitated for a long time. His crystal body flickered with conflicting lights. If I sign this, my people will not be special anymore. We will be equal to species we once ruled. Yes, Ji Woo said. Is that so terrible? Thalmor thought about the last 2 years. The chaos. The failure. The slow realization that his people's power had been built on the suffering of others. No, he said quietly. It is not terrible. It is fair, he signed. The Galactic Assembly effectively ended that day. Not with a war. Not with a conquest. Just with signatures on a document that promised something better. Elder Zenther, the Ancient One who had warned against mistreating humans, attended the ceremony as an observer. When it was over, he approached Ji Woo. You could have ruled them, he said. After everything they did to you, you could have made them kneel. Wu shook her head. Ruling is exhausting, and kneeling people are useless. We wanted partners, not servants. Most species do not think that way. Humans are not most species. Zenther made a sound that might have been a laugh. No, you certainly are not. In the months that followed, the cooperative alliance grew stronger. Mixed crews trained together at Earth's Naval Academy. Species that had been enemies for centuries learned to work side by side. Trade flourished. Piracy dropped. Peace spread. Young Officer Subin was part of the first mixed patrol group. Her ship had crew members from 8 different species. They were awkward at first, unsure how to communicate, uncomfortable with strange customs, but slowly they became a team. One evening, a young alien cadet approached Captain Day 1 at the academy. The cadet was from a species that had voted against humanity many times in the old assembly. "Sir, may I ask a question?" Day 1 nodded. "Why did you give us another chance? After everything we did, why not punish us?" Day 1 looked at the cadet for a long moment. He thought about the anger he had felt 2 years ago, the humiliation, the burning desire to make them pay. "Because holding grudges is exhausting," he said finally. "Building something better is much more satisfying." The cadet did not fully understand, but he would, in time. Ambassador Calith, whose people had been saved from genocide, gave a speech at the 1-year anniversary of the Alliance. "Humans taught us something precious," he said. "They taught us that power is not about domination. It is about protection. It is not about taking. It is about giving. It is not about being above others. It is about lifting others up." His skin shifted through colors of joy and gratitude. "They were hurt by us. They could have hurt us back. Instead, they built a galaxy where no one needs to be hurt again." In her office on Earth, Ambassador Jiwoo watched the speech with quiet satisfaction. 2 years ago, she had walked out of the assembly with nothing but dignity. Now, she had helped create something that might actually last. Her assistant entered with a report. "Madam Ambassador, 3 more species have applied for Alliance membership." "Process their applications. Make sure they understand the rules. Some of them were not kind to us in the past." "I know, but they want to be different now. That is what matters." The assistant nodded and left. Jiwoo looked out her window at the stars. So many worlds, so many species, so much possibility. Humans had been told they were weak, too emotional, too soft. Not built for survival in a harsh galaxy, but humans had survived. They had built. They had grown. And now they had done something no other species had managed in 10,000 years. They had made the galaxy a little bit better, not by force, not by fear. By simply being human. And that was enough.